Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and I'm very happy to welcome you here today, wherever you are in the world. This is the United Kingdom News and Culture, episode 126. There's so much news today. There's so much going on. Let's get right into the show. Joining me are our panelists, our expert correspondents from the United Kingdom. Let's welcome Mr. Simon Macdonald. Hello, welcome.
Hello, nice to be back. My goodness, it's Wednesday again. The sun is shining. Everything's spot on today.
We're burning up here in the States, that's for sure. So some places are over 100 degrees.
Oh, wow.
So hopefully people are staying cool and drinking a lot of fluids. Let's welcome Helena CHARD. I hope that Helena can hear us. Let's bring her out onto the show. Hello, Helena. Can you hear us today?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? I did something miraculous. Okay, I did. It's as you can see, they're different colour. So
fabulous.
Plugged in as well. So yeah, good stuff. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And DIANN FLOYD is also here backstage. Let's welcome DIANN. Hi there.
Hi, guys. Technical difficulties.
I wasn't sure who was going to be here, who could hear us and who couldn't. So I'm glad that we all are able to make it today. So
yes, take a leaf out of the British book and blame it on the weather.
Well, there's certainly been a lot that's been going on here in the States and over there as well. So, DIANN, what would you like to share before we get into the news?
Not much. Everything's all sunny. Everyone's happy, and everyone has electricity again. So, yay!
Yeah, that's a great thing. I know one of our team members, Red. I think he was without electricity for 6 days.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
How comes?
The hurricane.
I've had that happen only one time before, and it is so uncomfortable. You realize how blessed you are that we just take it for granted sometimes. And I know they're in the UK. I don't know if it's all the UK. Is it just in London where you don't have air conditioning?
So I think probably some people do. But on the whole, I don't know anyone that does have. So
I can't think of anybody in Scotland that has air conditioning. Definitely.
We never have hot weather, so it doesn't warrant having it, I guess.
Yeah.
And DIANN, how hot has it been there in Texas?
It's been really nice. It only hit 99 and 100 once, so that's amazing. Fahrenheit, by the way.
That is amazing. We had a guest on yesterday. He was in North Carolina. He said it was 105 there.
Which is so unusual for North Carolina.
Yes. Yeah. It makes, I think people start to feel really irritable and uncomfortable. And so I'm just grateful we have air conditioning here. So.
Amen.
No, I mean, losing your electricity, it hurts when the electricity's gone. I mean, I lived in South Africa for 5 years, and they've got what we call load shedding there, because the electricity company there can't afford to keep it running. And it feels very strange when all the power is cut off. And, in the 21st century, what do you do? And then what did we do a few years ago when, we didn't have mobile phones and all that sort of thing? So, we've got to relearn our way of thinking again, I think.
Yeah, it's true. One of our team members, Janetta Barry, she's in Kenya, and she's had numerous times when she was broadcasting, they were doing the brownouts, the blackouts, whatever it was, and she literally had no power. So And once again, very grateful for where I am and what I have.
Yeah.
I did watch Center Court on Sunday and was thrilled to see the princess there looking radiant.
Yeah, it was such good fun. It was lovely. I mean, I think it really cheered everybody up. But we sort of needed that bit of a boost, and yeah, it was good fun to see her. And she's, I think what was so lovely, she seemed so relaxed and not overly done up, if you know what I mean, just sort of chilled and as if she was just on a day out. And it must be quite hard when you know that you've got people looking at you and it's your second sort of main appearance. But anyway, yeah, it was all really good fun.
Yeah, and I saw Tom Cruise was there also, and he was dressed in purple, almost the same shade, I think, as the dress that she was wearing.
He's one, isn't he? He's a one. He's always there. Pseudo royal. He's part of the gang.
He looks very cool and calm and collected. So, but we're going to start off with the Royal Roundup with Helena.
Oh, thank you very much. In fact, we're going to start with what we've been talking about. So thank you. So I am going to start with a right royal warm welcome. So it was so lovely to see Princess Catherine with her girl tribe with her. Now that's obviously Princess Charlotte and her sister Pippa, and that was at the men's finals. And I think the whole of Centre Court, the Royal Box, well, actually the whole of Centre Court was absolutely thrilled. You know, the crowds erupted. There was big applause, big smiles, standing ovation. And I think Princess Catherine as well was so overwhelmed that she stood up as well. She didn't sit down as she normally would, and smiled and waved and beamed. And it was just lovely to see that she looked relaxed and actually very well. In a bright colour as well, which always reminds me of the late Queen Elizabeth. She had the same. It's a similarity there. Obviously, they have different dress sense, but similar colours, and she really does stand out, which is lovely. And you can see Pippa looking lovingly and Charlotte looking lovingly at her, and yeah, really lovely. So, and the lovely thing as well is that Charlotte really, really loves tennis, and Kate, Princess Catherine, Kate. Interestingly, just to say that a lot of the time we use Princess Kate and the name Kate, and that's more for for what do you call it when you're searching online? It's an online thing, but obviously the correct name is Princess Catherine, but we obviously say Princess Kate sometimes. That's what she's known as. But just to say, so Charlotte, she enjoyed meeting tennis players. She's been practicing her tennis prior to seeing the match between Djokovic, I think it was, and Alcaraz. I mean, what a game. It was something else. I found that it completely gripping. And as I said, Princess Catherine had promised Charlotte that she could go to finals one day, and this is the one, which is great. She's patron of Wimbledon, of the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club, since 2016. And that dress, I think, was really quite beautiful. It matched her badge that she wears as patron, which is also purple, and she had the nude pumps as well. And actually, I found out about nude pumps. We'll talk about that afterwards. I think I'd been silly in my past. But it's just a wonderful thing and beautiful to see her. Everyone was so happy. It was like you could really feel the love. Obviously, Princess Catherine, a huge economic impact in the UK, but in fact, Princess Charlotte, even more. So it's always good to see them out and about. And Barbara Krejcikova, I think her name is, who's the singles tennis champion, gifted Charlotte her tennis racket. So that's something which I loved. Moving on to Prince William and his mini-me. That's Prince George at the Euros 24 finals. Boo, 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 I say. That was in Berlin, and they were there cheering on the boys, the England team. And it was wonderful to see the father and son relationship. And when we scored our one goal, how they screamed and hugged, and it was beautiful to see. Lovely as well, the Spanish king was there with his youngest daughter. So that's the good, soft diplomacy that goes on, which was good fun. And lots of people were sort of saying, why is George having to wear a suit? Why isn't he in his football gear? But, he's in the royal box, and I think it sort of goes hand in hand. From my point of view, it's a slightly toe-curlingly awful match. and Spain certainly deserved to win. But nevertheless, it was the final, so great that the boys were in the final. Gareth Southgate has since resigned and left as England manager. And funnily, everybody on social media, it's this big demand that people wanted. And it was justice for Prince Louis, which I found quite funny. So everyone was saying he's so fun, and why has he been left out of going to all these wonderful events? And people always want to see him. One of those things. I mean, he's still young, but it was a lovely picture Princess Catherine released of them both watching the Euros. Do we have that picture? It's quite fun, and they're there watching. They're watching it on a small TV, which I love. So Charlotte and Louis, that was in the evening after Wimbledon. I sat there watching the Euros on the small TV. I just think it's something quite fun because you sort of expect something to be on this whizzy TV. So lovely, down to earth family. Moving on, so Australia and New Zealand government, they released a new image of the Queen and King, and it was taken at Buck Pal in the White Drawing Room. And this was by Millie Pilkington, royal photographer. And it was actually to coincide with an announcement from Buck Pal saying that they're going to be going to Australia and Samoa in October, which is great news. Obviously, King Charles is still undergoing cancer treatment, and Queen Camilla is always wanting him to slow down, but he's not going to slow down. They're going to Australia. Obviously, it was going to be a republic, and physically going there hopefully will boost the popularity of the royals in Australia. Unfortunately, King Charles was advised he couldn't do Australia and New Zealand, so New Zealand's not happening at the moment. Hopefully it's not seen as a snub and they'll understand it's to do with his treatment. And we have seen the King and Queen in Jersey, and it was, I think, the last time, they're the head of state there. The last time they visited was in 2012. Now, it's Crown dependencies. The Channel Islands. This is Jersey and Guernsey in the Channel Islands. Crown dependencies. So it's a relationship going back since the 1100s. And the king is known as the Duke of Normandy there in the Channel Islands. We didn't win the Euros, so there's no bank holidays for us here. But there were bank holidays in the Channel Islands because they were so thrilled that the king and queen could attend and speak to them. It was really lovely. Some really lovely photographs that were released, and people were so thrilled. It was so special, which again is it's that sense of stability and that soft power of diplomacy again, which always works. There were a few things that happened. There was a sort of a security scenario where the king and queen were rushed into a hotel. There was a security scare. But things turned out okay in the end. And the biggest thing that's been happening today in the UK, the biggest event in the parliamentary calendar, the state opening of Parliament. Now, it's really something to see if you haven't been involved in it. So for us here in the UK, a new era really begins in Parliament today. I mean, we have a new government, a Labour government. It's a spellbinding mix of symbolism and spectacle, and it's a global, I mean, it is celebrated globally, I'd say. People absolutely love it. It's full of history and mystery. It's majestic. So you have long-standing traditions as well that go back 500 years, and very quirky traditions as well, having said that. But I think also it's the big fanfare that goes with it. You have the robing room, and the king and queen enter the robing room. They travel from Buck Pal to Parliament, and they sort of get into their ceremonial robes and the imperial state crown. And the king leads the royal procession to the House of Lords before taking his seat. And it's that on the historic throne that we've discussed before. before he reads his King's Speech. And the King's Speech is something that's written by the Labour government, and he says it in a very sort of almost a monotone way, because it's not his speech as such. And I do wonder, he was probably sat there slightly concerned about some of the things in there. But, lots of horses, 200 horses, soldiers, fanfare, Welsh Guards. So much goes on, and it takes such a long time and attention to detail, just to, for instance, get the horses used to the carriages, and various things like that. And we had the 41 gun salutes in Green Park. And always, it's just a lovely time. So I think the government's programme is based upon the premise of security, fairness and opportunity for all. So hopefully this is going to be a good one. I think everyone's slightly concerned what's going to happen, but it's a new time, it's a new era. And again, the biggest event in the parliamentary calendar. Duty calls for Queen Camilla, who's 77 also today. I bet she didn't think that she'd be working on her 77th birthday. The gun salutes were there for her as well. Royal Artillery, the 41 gun salute in Green Park, which she absolutely loves. And she's obviously dedicated to a life of service, 77 today, and very, very strong, works like a Trojan. And I think, in a way, she looked radiant and splendid in her white outfits, centre stage with the love of her life, King Charles, as he opened the state opening of Parliament. She visibly enjoys the fanfare, pomp and ceremony and pageantry, and absolutely loves the gun salutes as well. So hopefully she's probably gone back and is thrown off her shoes and thrilled that she hasn't got spotlights and flashes in her face, and is just going to have a lovely, relaxed time now with her family. But it has been a very, very busy day for me personally, and I think in general, we're all watching what's going on, and very interesting. But it's also the carriage. Obviously, we've spoken about the carriage, and there's various different things as well, which from the royal collection that are involved in the state opening of Parliament. It's a huge, also this imperial state crown, which is very important. And we remember talking about the amount of diamonds, something like 2,682 diamonds on this beautiful crown. But I think I'm going to stop there, because maybe we can have a chat, and I have no idea how long I've been.
That was fabulous.
I'm just wittering away, I am.
I think she looks absolutely stunning.
Doesn't she? I just think,
complete standing ovation that she got as well. And, everybody was very tuned into it. It was lovely. Yeah, really nice to see her.
She looked so happy, and watching her shake hands with the what do they call the ball boys and girls? The ones who
boys and girls, yeah. And she met people, the tennis players that were there as well. I just felt she seemed quite relaxed. I don't know what you thought.
I agree.
And she looks sort of slightly healthier in her face, and yeah, I felt thrilled. And she sort of, you could see she said something like "how sweet" when everyone was applauding her. Mm-hmm. And she's also put out a statement on social media that she's so thrilled to be back. Because obviously it energizes her, because it's her one of her passions. She's got lots of passions, but she absolutely loves Wimbledon and loves tennis. So great. And what did you think of her dress?
Let's put it.
I loved her dress.
Yeah, I love her dress too. Why is my name there? We don't know, but
it's your dress.
That's right.
DIANN and I are splitting it. Look how happy she looks. I mean, that's true joy.
True
joy. Really lovely that she had. I think Charlotte was obviously, it would have been very good to deflect as well. But I don't think she really needed it. So the dress is by a designer called Safia, and what I was going to talk about was the nude pumps, because I'm not, I tend not to wear nude pumps, but if you're not the same height, I'm not short actually, I'm just sort of average. Well, I'm 5'5". I don't know what everyone else is. And if you wear nude pumps with whatever you're wearing, it sort of elongates you, and I get that.
I think that because it's got to be hard to stand in any kind of shoe unless it's a sneaker, for any amount of time and walk across. So I give her credit for just being able to walk in them. But you're right, nude pumps really do make your legs look longer. By the way, I'm 5'3", so you're taller than I am. How tall are you, Diane, if you want to share?
5'6".
Whoa, Diane, tell everyone.
Diane's a giant. Woo!
How about you, Simon?
Well, I'm hitting on the 6 foot.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
As you should.
Yay!
Yay.
That's
By the way, I didn't know when this picture should have been presented.
That was actually the opening of Parliament, because it's the Imperial State Crown, I think, isn't it? 2,628 diamonds.
Wow.
And 269 pearls, and so much more. It's very heavy. Although, is that the one? It looks slightly lighter, this one. But if it is the one, it's roughly 5 pounds, which is quite heavy. You have to keep your head and neck very, very still. No bad movements, otherwise you'll break your neck. I remember that the Queen Elizabeth always was talking about it because she couldn't manage it. But yeah, that's what that is. So it's a really special day.
That would be interesting to take a 5 pound weight. I have weights over there and just leave it on my head for the show and see how I would do.
Yeah, be very careful how you hold your head as well. If you suddenly lean forward, then it
can break your foot.
Well, it would break your foot and it would break the crown. Oh dear! I mean, it would be a national crisis.
How do they actually keep it on? Is there a strap or something?
No, but all monarchs practice. I mean, I know the late Queen Elizabeth used to practice. Goodness me, didn't she? She used to bath the children, I think, when she was young as well, and be doing it even then. Always be practicing, because you have to. It's quite something. Build those muscles up. Build those shoulder and neck muscles up.
Neck muscles, right?
Yeah. But
and then this one we didn't really. And there I am again.
Yay! These are the ones that were released, and this is before the announcement went out from Kensington Palace that Charles and Camilla will be going to Australia, not to New Zealand, unfortunately, but and to, where is it? To keep forgetting the name. It begins with S.
Samoa.
Samoa. That's it. In November.
Earlier. Yeah.
And that's the one that King Charles really wants to go to. Shame he's not going to New Zealand, but hey, I mean, goodness me, he's doing so much work, and it's just so lovely to see him. I think the sweetest thing that I saw as well, I haven't got a photograph, but there was a lady when he was in the Channel Islands, and she really just wanted to kiss him and loves him. He's a real fan, 90-something, and she did. She just said, "Can I kiss you?" and gave him a hug and a kiss, and he was absolutely fine about it. And I think it's just so different to how things were a few years ago, or at least 10 years ago. And it's a slightly different etiquette, and King Charles genuinely is not fazed. I don't know whether it's to do with his cancer treatment and his absolute being thankful to be alive and loving people, because he really does get energized meeting people. He loves people. But to allow that, I think it's quite special.
I think it is too. Because you were saying once about Princess Anne, you said you made a comment that she feels better if she doesn't shake everyone's hands because she'd feel bad if she left someone out. Am I recalling that?
Yeah, she's like, she is, definitely. But I mean, I don't know. I just think it's very lovely. It was lovely to see. I haven't got a photograph, but it was just a sort of genuine, lovely moment. Good for him. I don't think I'd want people kissing me if I was having cancer treatment. But again, it's a good sign, I guess.
Yeah, I love the blue that they're both wearing too. Very handsome. Something that was interesting, I just want to share before we go on to Simon, is that over the weekend, obviously with the assassination attempt of Trump, I was corresponding with Ian, one of our team members that we all know and love, and he was getting the news before we were getting it. So I was checking all the media outlets, and he was telling me things that were not on any of the media outlets, but they were on Sky News. So now I downloaded Sky News, and I'm watching that all the time because obviously Sky News has the news before we have it here. I thought that was fascinating.
Sky News is very good. Yeah,
It is
it's
very
great.
good. That was one of the news channels I watched all the time living in Dubai, because for what Dr. Jacalyn said, my mother would say, "No, that hasn't happened. What are you talking about?" And I'll be on the phone with her, and I'm like, "Mom, I just saw it on the news."
And I also like the fact that they highlight the latest from each media outlet, like for a front page of a newspaper, and so then they have people come on and discuss it.
It's
Yeah, it's good. It's clear as well. It's good channel.
Absolutely. So there's my plug for Sky News. All right, we're going to go over to you, Simon. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready anytime you like. Yes. Well, it's been an eventful week in Scotland here. I mean, yesterday we had the Inverary Highland Games, which I was at. I've been at that for the last 4 or 5 years. A great gathering hosted by the Duke and Duchess of Argyll. At Inverary Castle. So wonderful, wonderful day there. But I haven't got photos ready yet, but watch this space. And the other great thing was that, being an avid yachtsman myself, we have had the honour in the town of Oban, which is just about 40 minutes away from here. We've had the Clipper Round the World Yacht Race, have done the leg from Washington, D.C., coming into this beautiful bay of Oban here. It's the first time they've ever made a call into Oban. So on the penultimate leg of the Round the World race. So the next stage goes from Oban down to Portsmouth. Dare to Lead. My granddaughter's father-in-law was actually crewing on Dare to Lead for 2 legs of the race. That was from Portsmouth to Uruguay, and Uruguay across to Cape Town, South Africa, where he actually lives. Fast boat. And these boats, they're 70 feet in length. They've got a maximum crew of 22 people on board at any one time, a professional skipper and a professional mate, and then the others are all amateurs, and it's open to amateurs to take part. They have to go through a selection process first, and a rigorous fitness regime, and then they get measured up for their kit and so on, and off they go. So tremendous race, 11 boats, all identical, sponsored by all sorts of different countries mostly. I mean, it's very, very expensive sport. This yacht here, Perseverance, well, she won the leg from Washington to Oban. She arrived in Oban at 2:27 in the morning, and a welcoming committee was there, including the local pipe band and all local dignitaries and so on as well. So I think we got a bit of a surprise having such a turnout at 2:30 in the morning. So, and the pubs were shut. So endurance in the Clipper race is quite something. I mean, this looks more like the Southern Ocean, and it's in fact they have this sort of weather as well on the Uruguay to Cape Town run as well. So pretty tough weather, tough conditions, and so on. You learn to be able to sleep at 45 degrees in a wet bunk, which has just previously been occupied by somebody else who's had that bunk for the past 4 hours, and they've been soaking wet when they got into it, and so it goes on. So it's a pretty tough challenge of a thing. Great personal endurance as well, and a lot of strain and pressure on the boats. So they are still in Oban just now, and they leave for the final leg on Sunday at 12 o'clock. So I will be there to watch the boats go out in procession, and the start line is outside of Oban Bay because it's very constricted in there for the amount of space and also for the depth required. So their start line's outside of Oban, but I've got a good vantage point there, so I hope to get some more photographs for that one next week. I hasten to add, the photograph of the boat in the rough weather there was not taken by myself. Unfortunately, I mean, I'd love to have done that. It's just I have raced yachts for years and years. I used to own 2 ex-Olympic race yachts myself, and I raced those nationally, and and it was just tremendous. I mean, there's a sort of camaraderie about it, because we're racing against each other, but what we're really racing against is the elements and the conditions. So the common enemy we have is the sea, and we all have a very, very healthy respect for it as well, because we know what it can do. So there we are. So that was a really exciting trip for me on Saturday, and it's a wee while since I've been racing as well, having had my knee operation just over a year ago as well. So it's clipped my wings a bit on the racing side and so on. But I went there and I had this great longing to get back on a boat again and get these triangular bits of cloth up that stick in the middle of the deck and go out sailing at least. So it'll happen one day. So anyway, so this week, what are we looking at this week now? We've been doing quite a bit on the Second World War and some amazing characters in it. And this week, doing a piece on David Stirling. David Stirling was quite a character, and I have met him on more than one occasion. I had a food smoking business just a bit further north from here, and David Stirling had 2 estates. He had one in Perth and he had one in West Lochaber, so he used to come into my smokehouse and we'd have a good natter now and again and share the odd whiskey and so on. So David Stirling, he was born at his family's ancestral home, which is Keir House in the parish of Lepcroft in Perthshire, on the 15th of November 1915. And he was the son of Brigadier General Archibald Stirling of Keir, and Margaret Fraser, the daughter of Simon Fraser, who was the 14th Lord Lovat. Simon Fraser, the 15th Lord Lovat, who was also my godfather, was David Stirling's first cousin. His paternal grandparents were Sir William Stirling Maxwell, the 9th Baronet, and Lady Anna Maria Leslie Melville. Stirling, he was commissioned into the Scots Guards on the 24th of July in 1937, and at 6 foot 6 inches tall, he was a tall one, and with an athletic figure, Stirling was training to climb Mount Everest when the Second World War broke out in September 1939. In June 1940, he volunteered for the new No. 8 Guards Commando under Lieutenant Colonel Robert Laycock, which became part of Force Z. Later it was named Lay Force. And on the 1st of February 1941, Lay Force sailed for the Middle East in support of the capture of Rhodes, but were soon disbanded after suffering heavy casualties at the Battle of Crete and the Battle of Litani River. While Stirling remained convinced that due to the mechanized nature of war, a small team of highly trained soldiers with the advantage of surprise could attack several targets from the desert in a single night. So, believing that taking his idea up the chain of command was unlikely to work, David Stirling decided to go straight to the top. So, on crutches, following a parachuting accident, of which he had a couple, he stealthily entered the Middle East headquarters in Cairo, under, through, or over a fence, in effort to see the Commander-in-Chief, Middle East Command General Sir Claude Auchinleck. Spotted by guards, Stirling abandoned his crutches and entered the building, only to come face to face with an officer whom he had previously fallen out. Retreating rapidly, he entered the office of the Deputy Chief of Staff, who was Major General Neil Ritchie. So David Stirling explained his plan to Ritchie, and immediately after which Ritchie persuaded Auchinleck to allow Stirling to form a new Special Operations Unit. The unit was given the deliberately misleading name of L Detachment Special Air Service Brigade to reinforce Dudley Clark's deception of a parachute brigade existing in North Africa. So Stirling's new Special Operations Unit was, at the outset, short of equipment, particularly with tents and related gear. So when the unit set up at Kerbeck Air Base, the first operation of the new SAS was to steal from a nearby well-equipped New Zealand regiment various supplies, including tents, beddings, tables, chairs, and a piano. Well, after at least 4 trips, they had a well-stocked camp. And after a brief period of training, an initial attempt at attacking a German airfield by parachute landing on the 16th of November in 1941 in support of Operation Crusader actually proved to be disastrous for the unit. Of the original 55 men, some 34 were killed, wounded, or captured, far from the target after being blown off course or landing in the wrong area during one of the biggest storms ever to hit the region. Escaping only with the help of the Long Range Desert Group, or the LRDG, who were designed to pick up the unit after the attack, Sterling agreed that approaching by land under the cover of night would be a safer and more effective than parachuting in. As quickly as possible, he organised raids on ports using this simple method, bluffing through checkpoints at night, using the language skills of some of his soldiers as well, anything to get through and get to the targets he was after. Under Sterling's leadership, the Lewis bomb, the first handheld dual explosive and incendiary device, was invented by Jock Lewis. American jeeps, which were able to deal with the harsh desert terrain better than any other transport, they were cut down to size to lighten the weight and then adapted and fitted with Vickers K machine guns both at the front and at the back. Sterling also pioneered the use of small groups to escape detection. Finding it difficult to lead from the rear, Sterling often led from the front, his SAS units driving through enemy airfields and the jeeps to shoot up aircraft and crew. The first jeep-borne airfield raid occurred soon after acquiring the first batch of jeeps in June 1942. When Sterling's SAS group attacked the Italian-held Bagush airfield, along with two other Axis airfields, all in the same night. After returning to Cairo, Sterling collected consignment of more jeeps for further airfield raids. His biggest success on the night of the 26th and 27th of July in 1942, when his SAS squadron, armed with 18 jeeps, raided the city Hanish landing strip and destroyed 37 Axis aircraft, mostly bombers and heavy transport, and all that for the loss of 2 men killed. After a drive through the desert, evading enemy patrols and aircraft, Sterling and his men reached the safety of their advance cap at Quartet Tartua, on the edge of the Quatre Depression. He was he was promoted to lieutenant colonel in September 1942. So these hit-and-run operations eventually proved Sterling's undoing, and he was captured by the Germans in January 1943, having been dubbed the Phantom Major by the German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel. Although Sterling escaped from the Germans, he was subsequently recaptured by the Italians, who took great delight in the embarrassment this caused to their German allies. They made 4 further escape attempts before he was eventually sent to Colditz Castle, where he remained as a prisoner for the rest of the war. He arrived on the 20th of August 1944 and was given the task of setting up the Colditz British Intelligence Unit by a stay-behind order, which was in place in the area. Following Sterling's capture, the Irish-Scots maverick Paddy Mayne took command of the SAS. Now, he was a character, and I'm going to talk about him next week. In North Africa, in the 15 months before Sterling's capture, the SAS had destroyed over 250 aircraft on the ground, dozens of supply dumps, wrecked railways and telecommunications, and had put hundreds of enemy vehicles out of action. Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery described Sterling as mad, quite mad. However, in a war, there's often a place for mad people. Sterling, he was awarded the Distinguished Service Order in recognition of gallant and distinguished service in the Middle East on the 24th of February 42. Appointed an officer of the Order of the British Empire in recognition of gallant and distinguished service in the field on the 14th of November 1946, and appointed a Knight Bachelor in 1990 New Year's honours for services to the military. In 1984, the new base of the SAS was renamed Sterling Lines from Bradbury Lines in his honour. In 2002, the SAS Memorial, a statue of Sterling standing on a rock, was unveiled on the hill of Roe near his family's estate at the Park of Keir. 2 bronze plaques were stolen from the statue sometime around the end of May 2014. And the current laird of the Keir estate is his nephew, Archie Stirling, who he himself is a millionaire businessman and former Scots Guards officer. Sir David Stirling, founder of the SAS, the Phantom Major, the Rogue Soldier, he died aged 74 on the 4th of November 1990 down in Westminster in London. David Stirling had another Scottish estate in West Lochaber, near where I had my food smoking business, in the village of Glenouig. And he would often come to visit me before he died at the smokehouse for a chat and the occasional whisky. A man with a great, dry sense of Scottish humour, a real, true character, and very much one of a kind. And quite radical in his thought as well. He made friends occasionally. He made enemies very easily as well. Extraordinary man. I remember him well.
Bravo.
Yay, fantastic. There was one picture, I wasn't sure where.
That's the statue of David Stirling there. That's the one, and the plaques were stolen from it. Great shame. Yeah, somebody will always steal. If it's not bolted down securely, it'll go.
Very true. Very true. So I really enjoyed the Clipper race photos as well, and
Yes.
just especially this one, just looking at those kind of conditions.
I have spent many a time at that kind of an angle in an angry sea as well, and wow, it gets we all get scared at times. I mean, I'm quite happy to admit it. There are many times when you're out there, and especially if you're the skipper of the boat, you're responsible for everybody else on board, and it does get very, very scary. You just try not to show it, and humor tends to get us all through it. That's why all us yacht races, we're all absolute nutcases every single time. I've been sailing since about the age of 4, and I maintain I've gone sideways ever since. I sort of walk at an angle like that sometimes.
What keeps the yacht from flipping over?
Well, it's got a heavy keel underneath. I mean, you've got a big stick in the middle of the deck with the sails hanging from it as well. The wind catches those sails, and it acts like an aircraft foil, and that's what makes the boat go. But when the boat it heels over like that, gets to an angle, and the wind's coming in that way, so it deflects off the top. So it will go so far, generally, and no further. But you've got a very heavy keel down underneath. The draft of these boats from the waterline down to the very bottom of the keel is about 9 feet. So it's and it's solid lump of metal down there as well. But the keel and the design of keels in modern race yachts is quite a serious art form now as well. And with the likes of the America's Cup, well, they've changed now to foiling boats. But when they were regarded as proper boats with a keel, the keel was the biggest kept secret, and the boats would arrive ready for the race. Before they were put in the water, the keel area would be covered over completely, and there would be security guards to make sure nobody was having a peek to see what the keel was like. I mean, it was very carefully guarded secret, that. So the keel is a very important part, because that is underwater, and you want the minimum amount of resistance under it. I mean, if you've got 2 or 3 tons of metal under your boat, if it's designed badly, it's going to create a huge resistance, and that will slow the boat down. So the design of that is absolutely crucial to it all.
Thanks for sharing that. That's really interesting.
Oh, it's great technical sport. I must dig up photos sometime of my race boats and so on as well. I mean, it was the international sailing class, which was an Olympic class up until the 2000 Olympics in Sydney. And one of my boats was actually was the ex-New Zealand boat. So I had that, and there was, I would just laughingly say, there's 72 bits of string on it. In other words, there's 72 separate control lines on that boat to control those two sails and the whole rig of the mast as well. So very, very technical boat. 3-man crew, and ideally a chimpanzee and 2 gorillas, and the boat would work perfectly.
Do you plan on going back to it?
Oh, I'd love to. I think I think my knee probably would hamper me, but I would love to go back to it. I'm quite sure I'd find a way to get round it all and be able to do it again. Absolutely love it. It's a great thrill.
Well, I hope that for you. That would be wonderful.
I think it takes a very special spirit to want to deal with an angry sea. I mean, Mother Nature can really be something.
Oh, yes. I had great respect for it. And you get an angry sea, you just get angry back. You know, that's it.
I've shared this before, but I think it was it Hurricane Ian? Was there a Hurricane Ian?
Oh, they've had all different names for hurricanes.
Yeah. Well, when I was here in this house in New Jersey, and the bay is right behind us, and the bay was literally pouring out into the lot, into the street. Like you could just see, and I thought, oh my gosh, like Mother Nature is really not happy right now. But you realize how helpless you are, that you can't do a single thing, could sweep your whole house away. And of course it does happen.
Sounds a bit like a normal damp day here in the west of Scotland. Oh, we get some hurricanes here as well. I've been hit out in some pretty heavy conditions from time to time as well. Heavy enough to be able to actually crack the mast. And have the boat knocked flat in the water. It gets quite exciting at times. There we go.
You mean you were actually on a boat during a hurricane?
No, not intentionally.
Not intentionally.
But a race boat. A race boat. I think the heaviest wind, we got hit with a gust of 72 nautical miles an hour, which is about 78 miles an hour. And that caused quite a bit of excitement in the fleet. It was on the east coast in the Firth of Forth, which I regarded not so much as mucking about in boats, but boating about in muck. I mean, it was very murky water. And we had, I think there must have been about 20 odd boats out in the water. And this gust came through of 72 knots. I mean, it knocked everybody flat. It broke the mast off several boats, and it sunk another 2 or 3 as well in the process. So that was it. It was quite an exciting day. The Soling is generally accepted that 35 knots of wind is your maximum, which is about 40 mile an hour winds, which is a very strong wind. I remember racing one day between Arisaig and Egg, and it was about 10 miles, 12 miles offshore, and the wind was piping up all the time, and I thought in the end we sort of smashed through 2 or 3 waves, and I thought, this is getting a bit much. So I radioed into the race officer and said, sorry guys, but I think this is I'm going to break something if I don't turn around and head for home now. So that was it. And the radio crackled, and another boat came over and said, oh, Simon, you were telling us lies. You told us that the boat would only take 35 knots of wind. And I said, yeah. He says, it's actually 55 knots of wind we've got now, which is about 60 odd miles an hour. And I thought, yeah, right. Okay, I'm going to go.
Time to go. That must be
so, and a really exhilarating white knuckle ride all the way back home. And my crew, I mean, we to get the balance of the boat right, we huddled really, really close together, and we had to scream at each other to be heard over the sound of the waves rushing past the boat and the wind as well. It was it was quite an interesting sail, that one. So
wow. Love to see some pictures.
I must do that. We'll have a talk sometime about yacht racing and and the sailors' yarns. Yes. But we've got to look at something on this day.
On this day, let's do it.
Well, there we go. Well, on this day, in 1898, Spain declares war on the United States. There's a challenge. So that was the Spanish-American War. And the Spanish surrendered to the U.S. forces at Santiago de Cuba. In 1980, Ronald Reagan formally accepts the Republican nomination for US president. In 1995, Forbes magazine announces Bill Gates is the richest man in the world with a net worth of $12.9 billion. Oh, that would do, I could buy a few things for that, get a nice race boat for that, and maybe just about be able to afford to run it. Oh, birthdays. 1899. James Cagney, the American actor from Yankee Doodle Dandy, and he was an incredible dancer. But anyway, James Cagney was born in New York City. 1947, Camilla Parker Bowles, the wife of King Charles III and Queen of the United Kingdom, born in London. Well, I've got her down as age 76. Helena was saying 77. I will bow to Helen's superior knowledge there. Deaths today. 1918, Tsar Nicholas III, the last Tsar of Russia, was executed by a Bolshevik firing squad, along with the rest of his family in, now, forgive me for the pronunciation of this one, but it's Yekaterinburg in Siberia, and he was aged 50. And the whole family were just shot down. It was a terrible thing. In 2005, Edward Heath, British Prime Minister of the Conservative Party, died of cancer, aged 89. So there we have on this day of this week of all those years ago, and some not that far ago.
That was so interesting. James Cagney, oh my gosh, I still love so many of his movies, especially Yankee Doodle Dandy.
It's incredible. I mean, that man, his talent was just knew no bounds.
Yes.
Extraordinary talent. He always usually got the role of a gangster or something, and he fitted the bill perfectly for that. I mean, seriously typecast. But as a dancer, I mean, was it in Yankee Doodle Dandy? He did that scene on the bar top. Absolutely incredible. I think that's got to be one of the all-time movie moments of dance. That and then Singing in the Rain.
Singing in the Rain.
Yes,
everybody knows that one.
Everyone
and there's been so many skits of that. We have a few years ago there was Morecambe and Wise, who are a great comedy duo over here, and they did the Gene Kelly Singing in the Rain scene. And these two guys, I mean, their double act as comedians was legendary here. And it was, I think, one of the funniest shows I've ever seen in my life, watching Morecambe and Wise doing Singing in the Rain. But Gene Kelly, I mean, what a master at his art as well. But Cagney, I mean, he was the king of them all.
Really timeless. Across the generations. Well, my friends, we have to sign off because Ann Scotland's show is starting very shortly. Diane, what would you like to leave us with today?
For everyone to have happy thoughts and set politics aside and show love.
I love that. Thank you. Simon?
Yes, politics has been a sore subject globally, so I'm not going to go down that route today. But I'll say courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. But courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen.
That's powerful.
That is powerful. And I would just echo that and ask people to give the gift of listening. That is, everybody wants to feel heard. And when we feel heard, we can feel safe, I feel, because somebody's actually caring about how we feel. So that's what I'll leave us with today. Well, we're signing off now. Next is Launch It Podcast Maestro with Ann Scotland, followed by the Royally Rich Lifestyle Show. And we have a new show called Next Level Coaching with Robert J. Moore. So stay tuned for all of those shows. And we'll see you again next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.